Alright, continuing on, this is Unit C of Moodle Gradebook 194. We're back to the regular view, and you notice that it says Von Briesen Test Course. I'm DI Von Briesen, and I have all these different activities here. And if I scroll over to the right, you see I've got some grades in here, but I see letter grades, which makes me antsy because letter grades are not the default in Moodle, so perhaps I didn't save my settings. And notice also that I come to the end and I see these other grades, but I don't see totals, right? So it's a little bit confusing about the way the totals are shown. And if I scroll down, I see that I've got my settings to where I'm showing only 10 students. So I can see them all on one page in this case. And I'm actually reading sort of the quick feedback as I hover over for those that have them. So I'm just going to refresh the page very quickly to see if anything changes. Notice also there's this full view. So when there's a little circle here, I can click here to go to full view, which also of course reloads the page. And let's see if anything's changed. Notice that that's changed to be a minus, so we could click that for aggregates only. Now I'm going to scroll over to the left, to the right, and notice now that we have a course total. So I find that it's difficult when I'm just trying to get an overview of students to see those totals over on the far right because I have to scroll. If you only had 10 assignments for the whole semester, that might be okay. In a case where you have more than that, it's probably easier to put them on the left. So that's one of our settings. And also, we have letter grades here, which, as I said, I don't believe is the default. So let's go fix those two things. So I'm going to go to Settings, and I'm going to change this letter to the default, which is real. And later I may come back and want to actually put it at letter, but I want to start everything with the default so as not to get too confusing. However, I'm going to make an exception to that, which is to put the aggregation position first, which means the total grades for each category will be on the far left instead of on the far right. So I've made that change, and then what I neglected to do in the first recording was to actually save that. So click Save Changes. And it's a little confusing because some places in Moodle save on the fly, and some you actually have to save. So now that we have that, we're back at that page, and notice we still don't have the aggregates over here. I'll scroll to the left and see if they're there. And notice we no longer have letter grades. So I expect that it's just not quite taking, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh and see if that aggregate is where it belongs. And it still is not, which is a little bit frustrating. So I'll check a couple other views. I'll click the minus here, which does aggregates only. And this is a way of showing just the totals for this category. And that is the default category. Notice it's named after the course. And I'll blow that out again. Still the aggregation. Now the aggregation is gone. So we have three different settings. Full view, just the aggregation, and then this final one, the totals hopefully with the aggregation. So we can see the grades by themselves, the grades with the aggregation, or the aggregation alone. However, the aggregation is still showing on the right, which is bothersome, so let's see if I can fix that setting again. I want them to show first. And it says first, so we'll check the help to make sure I'm doing that right. It says the position total column in the report related to the grades being aggregated. So actually, I suspect that this is for the user view. In other words, when a student looks at their grades, it will move them to the top. But we won't really know till we try. But let me go check my preferences as well. And go down to aggregate position. Also, the first. I'll put first there to be safe. And now the totals here on the first. So for some reason it doesn't like the default, but it likes that. Now we got them at the first, and we'll continue in a moment.